Hello. Oh, whoops, I accidentally turned off my camera. How, how do I... I'm selecting the other camera. Why is it not... All right, I guess I'll just go with the one pre-installed on my laptop. Hi, I'm Elijah Horland. I'm a Mythbuster from the show Mythbusters Jr., and I've been a maker since around 2015. My first Maker Faire sort of thing was around 2016 with the 2016 New York City Maker Faire street team, where I put up posters and little advertisements around New York to tell people about Maker Faire. Uh, anyways, some of the other stuff I've done includes a small Altoids box that has a Raspberry Pi Zero. No, just a Raspberry Pi Zero. I was about to say Raspberry Pi Zero W. Raspberry Pi Zero inside that can play over like 70,000 retro games. So retro games has been sort of like a big part of my life since then. I've put a high altitude balloon into really, I've launched a high altitude balloon with two Raspberry Pis on it that took really cool video of it going up and it coming down, and it measured its height and it measured its location, height, time, pressure, various other things. And also, most recently, I've been doing a curb corn sort of fundraising thing where I fundraise food for a food bank in New York. Now, curb corn's actually it started in South Dakota with a piece of corn growing on a curb. Basically, you know, uh, it got recognized. People saw it was sort of popular, and then next to South Dakota, I believe in the next state over there, going through like an inland hurricane, uh, Derico, and since the corn survived it, they sort of saw it as a symbol of hope, since the corn could grow on the curb. But then some farmer cut it down, right? After the farmer cut it down, he didn't know like what it was. He didn't know that it was really popular at the time. But basically, they replanted it. They replanted it near City Hall. It's whatever. Now I'm doing curb corn here. That was just a brief history of curb corn. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to... Oh, hold on. This is actually, I had it right here, so I might as well show you. This is the Altoids box I was talking about with the Raspberry Pi Zero in it. This is, before the Zero W came out, just has a battery, controller board, battery, Raspberry Pi, and then front-facing USB that I put together from the power and ground of the Raspberry Pi Zero power input and the, the D plus and D minus from the, mini USB from the Altoids box. Or sorry, from the Raspberry Pi. All right. So, what I'm going to be talking about today mainly is... Oh, hold on. The cable's a bit short, but I can just... Yeah. Okay. I knocked over my other camera. This is... shoot, my camera's inverted, so it's hard to tell how to hold this. This is a SNES that this is like a normal SNES console that I've made into a controller. I'll show you how I did that in a little bit, but first the backstory as to why I did it. Well, as to sort of how this got started. So back a little bit ago, maybe like half a year, back a little bit ago, a couple months ago, I was sort of auditioning to be on a TV show. That sort of went nowhere, but I went into auditioning for that TV show with a friend, with a couple of friends. They were also doing it alongside me. Anyways, that's not the point. They had us do creative DIY projects that sort of was meant to represent us. And I decided to do a sort of cardboard gaming controller. So I went through a couple of iterations of it. I can go get some prototypes to show you later, show you the importance of prototyping stuff. But right now, let me grab it. This is the most recent and probably last iteration I'll do of it. It kind of looks like I smeared ketchup on the buttons, but no, that's actually glitter hot glue. This is what this is basically, I made buttons. No part of this is pre-made other than the Raspberry Pi. Like, all the entire controller is just made from random wires I took out of sort of, like I ripped out of an Ethernet cable for the wires that are coming out the top of this box. Paper clips for the button pads here. I can flip a button over and sort of show you. That's the paper clip there. and then under it, that's sort of like a paperclip line, like a ground rail. So when the two paper clips collide, the Raspberry Pi picks it up and detects it as a button input. All right, so where is Raspberry Pi? This actually got an article in Make Magazine, or sorry, not like in the magazine, but on their website. You know, I just thought that was interesting to mention. Right. Where is it? I couldn't. Back to this. This actually runs on, like, you know, if you want to do this at home, just to tell you how this works. This actually runs on, I believe, GPIO Next. I believe it's what it's called. It just it makes it so that Retro-Pi can detect GPIO inputs as a controller, basically. So on to the main portion of this, which is this SNES controller thing. Despite this, well, first let me go over a normal SNES controller, or I guess a remake of an SNES controller. I don't actually have a classic SNES controller. I just have like the normal USB Retrolink SNES controller, but this has all the buttons I need to show off. I basically need to put 4 front-facing buttons, start, select, a D-pad, and 2 shoulder buttons onto this SNES control, this SNES console. The reason I decided to do an SNES console controller thing, the reason I decided, this is hard to show. The reason I decided to do an SNES is because if you look at this is actually sort of like a recreation of an NES controller with start and select. They're not in the right places. Especially, I think I messed up with the A and B. I think the A and B are actually reversed. So I kind of got that wrong. But other than that, it's a pretty good recreation of an NES controller. So I sort of wanted to do a recreation of an SNES controller. But when you're holding an SNES console, right, you don't have room for 4 front-facing buttons exactly where they are. Right, so I sort of, although it's a counterintuitive game controller, because it's the last thing that people would think of, you know, normally when you think of a game controller, you think of the controller itself, not the console. You sort of need to think about where the buttons go. So I had to get creative with my button placement. But, you know, it's actually, I've made it so that you can reach all the buttons without moving your hand around. Like, you know, your index fingers go on the trigger buttons like normal, but with your thumb, hold on. This way. With your thumb over here holding B and Y, A and X have to be pressed by your middle finger and ring finger, and it actually feels really natural. So despite it being a counterintuitive game controller, I actually had to design the button placement very, like, you know, I had to go in depth on where to put the buttons, because that was actually pretty, you know, pretty long process. I actually have, this was originally supposed to be built on that SNES, right? But I had made a cardboard mock-up of it, and that's actually how I found out where to put the buttons. You can see down here I have like a little plate for A and B, and A and X and B and Y, and this D-pad. I'm gonna go more into this later and how I attach the buttons inside the SNES, because I have a couple other versions. But what I like most about this cardboard model, and the reason I'm deciding to show it off like right now, is because on the inside there's like okay, do you see this? This works really well to recreate the start and select on the inside of the console, and it's literally just 2 switches that I Gorilla taped together. It's absolutely, it's so weird to look at, but it works so well if you don't pay attention to it. Yeah. Also, what's making this entire thing run, what's making this whole SNES controller run, is something called Gamepad Block by Pet Rock Block. Oh, I just realized something. First of all, Gamepad Block by Pet Rock Block. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it was kind of hard to find documentation on any, you know, on Gamepad Block. So if any of you guys need help building something similar to this, you guys can just contact me. I'm gonna go more in depth on Gamepad Block in a second. But with me, I just realized something. With me fiddling around with this, it was actually plugged in. It's really hard to tell when my camera's inverted. It was actually plugged in at the time. So I ended up, hold on, let me switch to the other camera. Why is it taking 10 years to switch to the other camera? Oh, the other camera fell. I forgot about that. Okay. Right here. This is what I wanted to show. Over here. This is making it really hard since the camera fell. So this is like a handheld camera. That's really weird. I accidentally opened Street Fighter 2. So I think it's best that I unplug the controller right now and sort of turn off the console. You know, just so I can show it off. All right, let's switch back to the other camera. Why are none of my cameras, or why is my main camera not working today? I was using that initially, back when I was, you know, I started testing it. Actually, if I switch to OBS Virtual Cam, hold on. I might, you know, it's not worth it. It would take too much time. Okay. Oh, drop the SNES controller. So, the insides of this, right? I actually, here's another one. I built a couple of these just so I could get a good feel on how to do it. You can see with this one, I actually experimented with, where is it? This is the problem with using the camera attached to my laptop. Okay, so, I don't know what just happened, but, oh, okay, my USB unplugged. Everything just forgot it existed for a second. So my other camera cut out, my mic cut out, my headphones, no, my headphones are plugged in through something else. Anyways, while my microphone is in the process of connecting to my computer, because it takes a second, I'm just going to explain. There's a little bit of goop here. You can see I used malleable plastic. I put a little bit of yellow in there to sort of match the tone, but I didn't get it quite right. That's because initially I wanted to go with a more sunken in D-pad approach, because on the final, on the final over here, you can see that the D-pad sort of raised. That's just to make it easier for me to install. Right, the D-pad. I had a D-pad button. Where did it go? Oh my god. Okay, this is, okay, it's right here. With all this moving around, I just used my laptop at the last second. And my laptop battery, speaking of my laptop battery is low. Like 5%, hold on. I might have to like leave in just a second and get a laptop charger before it just completely dies. But this is the 4-way directional pad. You can see here it has 6 outputs, and I thought that would mean that, you know, 1 for each direction and 2 for ground, right? But it turns out that it's not that. Actually, ground is sort of like up here, and then the other 5 are for 4 directions, and if you press down, and you can't find, it's extremely hard to find any documentation on this 4-directional pad. I had to, this isn't like the biggest thing ever, but I had to make my own, schematic for it since I didn't have anything. And that's where I'm gonna have to, I'll be right back. My laptop's about to die. So hold on. This will only take like 2 seconds, but you know, I don't want to suddenly leave the Zoom call, and I think my laptop battery is freaking out because I went from 5% to 9%. I need to go get that charger. Hello? I'm back. Remember what I said about my laptop dying? Turns out it did. I came back with the charger just in time, and as I plugged it in, it just perished before my very eyes, and it has not booted back up. So I'm on my desktop, which means, oh yeah, one other thing. For some reason, my desktop can recognize this camera, but whenever I try and plug in the other camera, it immediately stops recognizing everything else. So I'm going to be using this one from now on. But that's fine. That was the override camera I was looking to use at the beginning. Anyways, back to the controller console thingy, where I left off. I'm going to show you a video of the build process in 2 seconds, but you can see that at the beginning, I tried to use more of an indented inside the console D-pad setup, but that ended up not working, so I covered it up with putty. And that's where I'll get to these cardboard things. But first, let me show you the video of my build process. Share my screen. Oh, disabled attendee screen sharing. Okay. Can you enable screen sharing? Or whatever. I'll press on without the video for now. Inside. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay, I can share my screen. Thank you. All right. So, hopefully you're seeing the video. Oh, I didn't opt. Man, screen sharing is like really hard. Not really hard, but like, you know, it's more complicated than it needs to be. These things should just be on by default. You should be able to hear the video, correct?
Hi, I'm Elijah Horland, and today I'm going to be building one of the most counterintuitive retro gaming controllers. Now, I've seen a lot of people turn one of these, an SNES controller, into one of these, an SNES console. But what I've never seen is someone turn an SNES console into an SNES controller, and that's a gap in the market that I'm willing to fill. Let's get into it. I'm Elijah Horland, and thank you for watching my thanks for watching. Yeah, thanks for,
Right, that was just a build process video, and all right, yep. That's actually about the video. I actually took them from two different build things. I started recording the different bits in the middle of this. Everything post soldering the button was this one, and then everything like dremeling and everything before that was this console. That's just a little fun fact. Also, that montage took way too long to edit, but whatever. I had fun doing it. So you can see it's more sunken in D-pad. Let me get my notebook. I should label the spines of my notebook. Okay. Here. No, not here. Not here. Here. I had to draw out a schematic for the button because I could not, for the life of me, find any existing one online. And not that that was hard, but I was just surprised that no one else had really, done that. Anyways, about the inside of this. It takes 6 buttons in total plus a D-pad button, right? And D-pad's just 4-way directional. This is hard to open because I made the wires way too short on this one. But you can see those little yellow things inside there. And you saw the 3D printer going in the video. These are actually, I custom designed these. It's not too impressive, but it's just something of note. Little button scaffolds that I could use to hot glue. I was originally planning to use malleable plastic, but that takes way too long to sort of prepare and heat up, and hot glue is just way more convenient. By way too long, I mean it takes like about 2 minutes, but that's longer than, a hot glue gun. So, I'd rather do that. And plus, I had a custom scaffold. I had a bit of a smaller one, shallower, with smaller flaps here for the D-pad button, because for some reason, they couldn't just, make it more convenient and make it the same sort of shape as the button. It's very slightly different. I don't know if that comes off on camera. Right. The other thing about the inside of this, I actually had to here. You can see I used the same push switch thing. These easier to push. You see here. I'll trigger it just to that. I used these again in here, not just in the cardboard prototype. I only used one of them. I placed them sort of where the normal buttons. Oh, I've accidentally destroyed the cartridge input here. But I sort of placed them where the normal start and select button were. Now, when designing this, I held an SNES an SNES console in my hand for quite a while, and I had to figure out where the correct button placement is. So you can see my hands just sort of naturally resting on these buttons. Yeah. Let me just put the D-pad on. I did not glue this D-pad on because I want to show you guys the 4-way directional pad. But you can see here, my thumb rests here, my thumb rests here, my ring finger and middle finger rests here, and my index fingers rest on the shoulder buttons, right? So it would just make sense for start and select to go down here, so I can literally have all the buttons at my disposal without moving my hand. But then I saw these, and these are just like, come on. It's too good of an opportunity not to pass up using these as start and select. So that's exactly what I did. So if you're wondering why in the video I soldered 2 of a different kind of button, that's why. All right. Now, I said I was going to go more in depth on something, but I forgot if I already did or not. I can't open this one. That's okay. I kind of forgot I couldn't do that. I have a I have a box here, right? And I'm grabbing the box. This is all the SNES garbage that I had to take out. It's not garbage. This is what makes it run. But this is all the stuff I had to take out of the SNES, right? Motherboards, plates that keep the motherboard safe. This actually is the front controller panel for the SNES. That's actually on most of them, but I had to take this off for one of them. The cartridge thing that holds the cartridge in the case. And it turns out taking out a lot of this stuff makes the case very unstable. There's a lot of hot glue involved. No Maker project is... oh, shoot. My hot glue gun is hot and also on the floor. No Maker project is perfect, but this one had a couple more hiccups than a lot of the other ones I've done. Let's see. Let me just open this so I can show you guys something. You can see, look at all that. Oh, whatever. I accidentally dropped. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can see how much of a mess this is inside, right? Anyways, I had something else. Right. That brings me to my next point. It's okay to sort of do maker projects that don't look perfect or don't function perfect. Maker stuff is really just about, you know, the fun you're having. Even if it's, you know, I made a point, even if it's a spot in the, like, you know, the internet area that's never been done before. It just, you know, let me rephrase this. Look at this. It's super counterintuitive, but it's something creative, something that not a lot of people have done before. Putting a controller inside a console instead of putting a console inside a controller, or, you know, putting a Raspberry Pi inside a controller and having it be a plug and play. This is more of a play and plug, the most inconvenient video game controller. But, you know, it's creative, and I had fun making it, and it may not look the best, but that's really what makering is about. I mean, look at this cardboard controller. Looks like I smeared ketchup on the buttons. Anyways. All right, I have about, what is it, 15 minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, I'm just going to continue going on about this, but all right. I keep on trying to open this console. I actually have a question. What's your favorite SNES game? You know, I've sort of been a big SNES sort of fan. It sort of perfected what, you know, if the NES sort of brought about like the revival of video games, the SNES really brought about more the, oh, there's a gnat in my room and I cannot catch it. You know, it sort of brought about, it perfected everything that NES did. Look at New Super Mario Bros. Compared to Super Mario World. Sorry if I seem distracted. There is a bug in my room and it's going around. Sure. Super Mario RPG. I've never played Super Mario RPG. When you say Zelda, do you mean? Actually, yeah. That never mind. Actually, I have a couple. I have Super Mario Kart preloaded on the system, which I would be able to show you if my laptop decided not to commit on a live. Right. Wait, I've already showed off the D-pad button. What was? Oh yeah, the Raspberry Pi. Oh no, the gamepad block. The gamepad block. This is a really. Where is my? It's right here. Okay, so I'm not like advertising for the gamepad block or anything. Made by Pet Rock Block. You can actually get it if you want. But here, this is pretty much how it works, right? And I'm going to share with you a very embarrassing mistake I'd made. You see how there's ground and then 3.3 volt and then just numbered pins for the rest of it. And there's switches up here, right? These switches are basically, for most projects, you're going to want to have it on sort of arcade controller mode, I believe is what they call it. Unless you're sort of trying to emulate a specific controller, which is technically what I was trying to do here, but I was using Retro-Pi, so I had it on arcade controller mode. But my wiring issue, usually you can wire whatever button to whatever pin you want and then just configure it in Retro-Pi, right? Easy peasy. But as I pointed out, there's a 3.3 volt pin. And when I was wiring the D-pad button, one, I assumed that there was only one ground pin, two ground pins. One, I assumed there's two ground pins. I thought these were the two ground pins. And two, I wired up one of the D-pad buttons to the 3.3 thing. So whenever I tried to activate the D-pad, I was trying to figure out what was going on until all of a sudden it started like bursting out all these random inputs that I didn't do, and it would like zoom me through 6 different button configurations. And I just, you know, I may have accidentally created, I think, a capacitor or something, but, you know, just be careful when wiring stuff. That was sort of an embarrassing mistake I'd made. Okay, so I do believe, oh, it's, okay. Right. Although it may not look like it, 3D printing actually had a big, like, oh, I got, okay, 10 minutes. All right, yeah, that makes sense. So I sort of have to start wrapping this up. But 3D printing is sort of like a big part of this project, because without it, okay, let me show you. My original plan was to just, although it may have looked ugly, I was like, oh, why don't I do this? was just, as you can see on the cardboard bottle, sort of mounted on the outside. And although that may have worked, it certainly did not look the best, right? You can see all the bare wires outside. So 3D printing the scaffold is really what holds the project together. Where am I going with this? I just realized. Right. .3D printing and malleable plastic really just hold it together. Oh yeah, even the D-pad's 3D printed. I just realized the D-pad didn't come with a D-pad that you could just attach. It was 3D printed there too. I really wish I had the other camera so I could show you some games running on this. But unfortunately, I cannot. Right. Right. Yeah, about these. I was going to talk about this earlier, but then I lost track. God, I am so terrible at keeping track of what I'm trying to say here. But this is the reset button. You can see this is crudely cut out. This is originally much taller. I had to use my Dremel to sort of cut it out. Let me show you the process of... My hot glue gun is back to being on the floor. Why is it always down here? My office is a mess right now. Let me show you sort of the process of putting one of these scaffolds on. You'll laugh at how simple this is, right? So you take the scaffold, you take a button, you take any button you want, right? You put, this is, the hot glue gun isn't hot. Oh my gosh. Okay, whatever. You take the button, you would normally glue it here, right? And then these little pads hold it in place. Let's say my finger's the case and there's a little opening here. They hold it in place in the case. So when I push back, it doesn't push back on the thing, and there's little spaces to let the wires out back, you know, all that. And something that I would definitely stress if you're working on something like this, you know, if you're working on a thing that can sort of, you know, two-piece, it doesn't have to be a controller, two-piece anything that opens at all that you have to have access to. Make your wires longer than you think they have to be, okay? Listen. I made these wires the bare minimum, basically, right? It may look like there's a giant mess in there, but in reality, the wires over here can barely, I can barely fold it out more than this. That was such an inconvenience when building this, okay? Make your wires longer than they have to be. That was just sort of a side tangent I decided to go on. I don't know if you could tell, I've sort of been, this isn't a Halloween decoration, although I got it at a Walgreens because they're selling it for Halloween decoration. This is actually my good friend. I don't know, you might have seen him in the background. I wanted to point him out. Yeah, tip of the day. Make your wires longer than they have to be for ease of access later. I would definitely say that, and also, just everything for ease of access later. For example, right here. This is another project I'm working on. Ignore that everything's taped to a Pokemon card holder thing. I just had to tape it here so that nothing would, start pulling on the wires. This is just, something for me to tape everything to. But over here, you can see this little 3D printed bit that I've made, and this is basically just so I can attach it to one of those PCB board holders. There's a gnat in my room. To one of those PCB board holders without it blocking any of the cables and stuff. And that was just for completely just ease of access purposes. And I guess along with the battery. Another tip I have. Organize. Look, okay. I'm gonna show you something. This is no well-kept secret. My makerspace is a mess right now. Look at the floor, right? You want to keep organized, and I've been working on this. Okay, it doesn't matter. I have this shelf full of these 3D printed stackers, and it's helped me. If my dad asks for a pencil or something, he walks into my room. He says, "I need a pencil, Elijah. Give me a pencil right now. I'm teaching a class, and I'm out of pencils. I can just take a pencil out of one of these stackers and just put it into the thing, and then hand it off to him. And with everything organized, everything's really easy to find." But that's the only part of my office that is organized. And if I need to find anything else, if I was looking for something like an extruder, a hot end, I would not be able to find it within 5 minutes. It would take forever. Yeah, I should. Yeah. one of the moderators said I should make a gnat destroyer project. I'm pretty sure those exist in the form of like those. Is that a fly or a gnat thing? Those little tapes that come down and you stick them to your ceiling and different bugs get caught on them. It would be fun though. Here's some other stuff here. Wait. Does anyone have any questions sort of about the build process? I feel like I covered it pretty in depth, but I feel like I jumped around too much. So if anyone just has any, electric gnat zapper. If anyone has, anything that I didn't cover, anything that they want to ask, feel free to. You can see actually in here. Oh, another thing for ease of access, color code everything. Okay, listen, I didn't color. You saw in that one that they're all red wires. That's because I pretty much knew what I was doing by then. That was like my third one that I'd wired up, it was whatever. Everything was red wires in there because I knew what I was doing. But in here, I had to color code it to make sure that I didn't, to make sure that I just didn't mess anything up. The green wire has the green wire is connected to the green one button, the blue wire is connected to the blue button. And just an off-topic thing, along with color coding, name files what they actually are. I have a bunch of Raspberry Pi folders, and the folders like important, not really important documents, but important Python files in them and important Pi backups. And they're just labeled random stuff. Like, I believe one of them just labeled, look at the Ninja Turtles go. Wow, they're so cool. Like, I named files absurd things, absurd, really long things. And I'm trying to get out of that habit because I thought it was funny. But now it's become some kind of sick, crippling, like, disability. Not disability, like, problem that I have. Because whenever, I have, I have crack.mp4, like C-R-A-K or K-R-A. I can't spell, okay? But it's just a video of, it's a take of me. Just it's from the edit that you saw earlier, and I wasn't able to find it because it was called crack.mp4. Anyways, I have about 2 minutes left, so if you want to see my Twitter, I believe one of the moderators posted it. It's twitter.com/notabombunky. If you have any questions after this, you can find me there. Oh, and also another just organization thing. I've been 3D printing this bar that I plan to hold tape. It's going to be held on my wall through friction. Sort of like, God, I keep on dropping everything. Sort of like, this is going to, it's going to be held close to the wall, and this is going to unscrew holding it there. Sort of like those shower curtain holds. Have you ever tried cranberry juice and seltzer? It's really good. Is there no drinking rule on this? If there's no drinking rule, I've already failed it because I've been just drinking stuff so that I don't, so my mouth doesn't get all dry. Oh, yeah, one last thing before I go. I have just seconds left. It's 12:44. This is a mini keyboard, a Canacade keyboard. If you're working with Raspberry Pis, this is like pretty much essential to have. This, whenever I boot up a Pi, I always use this and then just if config through here. But plugging in a full-size keyboard is way too much, hassle. And this just makes it so much easier to boot up a Pi and start a project. Again, I'm not advertising for this. I just realized it looks like I'm advertising for like the Canacade keyboard. No, whatever. Don't buy whatever. Just, everything to help you be more efficient in making. All right, I'm Elijah Horland. I have like 3 seconds left. Go to my Twitter, notabombunky, and thanks for listening.